Hey guys, got an awesome episode here for you today. Beautiful hot day in Pennsylvania. We covered last episode. We covered uh, like kind of like it was like a transformation, evolving paradigm from just being completely complacent, trying your own things, just kind of evaluating where you're at in your transformation, gathering experience and things like that. And actually, I did say last episode that I was going to go into talking about uh, I believe it was the third eye chakra I said I was going to talk about, but I'm actually not going to talk about that today. Um, going to go into motivation, and this one's kind of has a basis of psychology, and I recently saw some graph that basically displayed where you're at in motivation and healthy motivation and things like that. So we're gonna look at the sort of the shift in the spectrum for motivation, and it starts with apathy, and that is a point that we've kind of been talking about, where we're basically doing the same things, and we sort of live in comfort or like sorrow for yourself and all this stuff. Um, it's just really not healthy for motivation. You're not gathering experience, um, and another part to this in the low end of that spectrum is grief and fear, and these aren't really great motivators. Oftentimes, uh, if you're doing things out of grief and fear, it's just not going to be very healthy. If you live in sort of this apathy and this victimization and this comfort and just doing whatever it is that you're just given on that daily basis, that's just the easy approach. These aren't going to be very healthy motivators. Um, you have to overcome any sort of grief about things that have happened in your past that are holding you back. And for this, and in this area of the motivation spectrum, meditation could help a lot to sort of develop uh, and overcome this grief. You know, there's things in the past that'll affect you from trying to improve yourself, trying to improve uh, other people's experiences and things like that. It's just going to hold you back from your full ability to help humanity. And um, I definitely resonate in this part of the spectrum because, and I've covered this before. I had a horrible accident that rendered me paraplegic, and after this, I had a lot of grief of what I put my family through, about the long nights that my mother spent thinking about what was going to happen to me because uh, she found out that I injured my spine, and so there was a lot of grief for this even though this was very very much out of my control, because I was in an episode of psychosis, so I didn't really understand what was going on, and so this was sort of out of my control. But also, it was an action of mine that ended up rendering me paraplegic. Um, I actually walked off of a roof because I wasn't in a right state of mind. Um, so inevitably, it was my own action, but I was rendered very confused by this episode of psychosis that was a drug-induced psychosis that lasted several months. But still, there was a lot of grief there for the action that I had taken. And it took me a while to really get over it. And honestly, I don't really think about it as much anymore. It took several, a couple years before I really started listening to myself, listening to these different thoughts that were happening to me, where I was kind of in a downward spiral on this side of the spectrum, with fear and grief and apathy and just being comfortable with whatever was happening. I was just kind of going through the motions, and really, I wasn't embracing a lot of the chakras, spirituality. I wasn't embracing the present. I was very interested in distracting myself rather than just facing the grief and facing these thoughts and sort of just analyzing the thoughts and sort of accepting, that this stuff was out of my control and it was just in the past. So it's very difficult, but I think the faster that you sort of pinpoint those different thoughts, the better, and start listening to what it is that's really holding you back. Is it this closed-mindedness and apathy where you just, anything that sort of disrupts you from this idea of your comfort zone, anything that just distracts you, that sort of threatens your own comfort, your subconscious mind will really take control in a way and just be like, no, I don't want to, exercise. I don't want to put myself in things that are out of my comfort zone. And then even like you'll also tell yourself that you'll embrace the fear and grief, and also in that apathy, and just you won't explore the new experiences that we talked about in the past few episodes. This exploring to get reference experiences to really evaluate where you're at. You're kind of in that stage of doing the same things over and over again. You're not experimenting, and you're really not motivating yourself properly. So that also, there's certain things that, fear will motivate you in a certain way. I guess if somebody was threatening you to do something and you did something out of fear, it's hard to really find a circumstance where that happens, but I'm sure that does happen. It's not a great motivator. It's not a healthy motivator, and this is what this is all about, really, the healthy motivation. And now we're talking about anger. So we covered apathy on the left, grief. You're having trouble dealing with the past, difficulty to be present. Fear also is actually probably affecting you a lot in the present, in the decisions that you make. And then anger will actually motivate a lot of people. They'll actually go through life motivated by anger, and that's kind of like the David Goggins type of motivation, where he thinks about a lot of his past trauma, and he uses that to sort of motivate him to do awesome things, which for some people may be a good start, but it's really not, what we're looking for in the long run. Because if you do things out of anger a lot, you're just kind of also going to live in this frame of anger. Like, to me, it does seem like David Goggins is always pissed off in a way, and he's comfortable with that because that's what motivates him in a way. But I think there's a lot of other motivators, and I think he is also motivated in these other good parts of the spectrum also. But you see that a lot of times where it's like he uses anger to kind of push himself forward, and I think that's Some mentors would even probably like I feel like for David Goggins, whenever he went through boot camp, he experienced some mentors that really wanted to frustrate him, um, and they were actually trying to get under his skin in a way and trying to break him, because it is not only a physical battle but it's a mental battle too in the boot camp, and they wanted to test the soldiers' true ability to overcome the adversity, um, the feedback that the mentors were giving them, um, to really see what they were capable of doing, uh, and in that sort of atmosphere, I think it definitely makes sense. I never went into boot camp or anything like that, but when you're really trying to make sure that the soldiers that you're going to put out there can face the sort of bad feedback and bad days and things like that to sort of continue striving to their goal, um, and they sort of facilitate that anger. And I think there's some parents that would facilitate that to provide you with anger, like, you're not doing anything in your life, you're not doing it, you're not. They like trying to facilitate that anger to get you to sort of spark some motivation for change. But really, what they should be looking at is sort of establishing um, courage in you and building you up, so that you could even face the feedback and things with this sort of understanding, self-confidence to be able to do this. Um, and it also kind of creates intention with the courage, creating that's what I have in parentheses here, is intention underneath courage, because if you can create this intention, spark this versus anger, creating urgency through anger um, isn't really going to be the healthiest thing. So we can create this courage and this dynamic of courage and intention and build up that courage. This will also lead to hopefully you can sort of embody this purpose in them, and a desire to achieve the purpose. And this is really, really strong, really strong areas of this spectrum. The courage and the purpose and the desire to fill the purpose. If you can build that up in somebody's in their life, if they went to something like a boot camp or anything like that, they could always go back to their desire and their courage to fulfill their purpose. And I'm sure that David Goggins did that too. I mean, I honestly don't think he could just do all of the stuff that he did out of just anger alone. I think he provided a lot of desire and courage to the people in his group. He was a strong leader in his group. If you ever listen to his book, I think it's never. I forget what it is. It might be Never Back Down. I can't remember what the book is, but he took on the role to inspire his group, gave them the intention and courage to help fulfill their purpose. He was like, you're not going to let these instructors win. You're not going to let them be right about this. And so he helped create this desire in his group to overcome that that negative feedback from the instructors that was just kind of geared to just get under their skin. You're not going to be able to make it doing this stuff. You're not going to be able to do it, and sort of re-encourage them that they're very close to their purpose, and that was accomplishing boot camp and becoming a Navy SEAL. And this leads us also to the strongest point. The people that really love what they're doing are really going to have the ultimate motivation. That love is even past should be also enforced into your purpose. So the ultimate motivation is love. You know, desire for your purpose is kind of close up there, but if you can sort of facilitate a desire of purpose through a love for whatever you're doing, establish why you really love what you're doing. Um, and right now, you know, for me, I think it's a betterment for humanity to really understand these things so that they don't live in apathy in a world that's really changing, in a world that's really giving you the easy way out, and even trying to basically leave everything up for a computer to do the work for you. You know, you got Tinder finding you matches. You've got AI now that are going to create basically avatars so that they can basically give you good feedback, because women out in your life aren't giving you good feedback, and you're not getting that good feedback from even men either. So they're creating these sort of robots and stuff like that to give you a feeling of satisfaction in a way, when in the real world you can't find that satisfaction. And so I would really like to sort of embody this ability to find the love for what you're doing, and make sure, it might be a really pivotal point to really make sure that that is something that's a part of your belief system, whatever it is, that find the love and reason why you love doing what you're doing. And even whenever I wasn't really, you know, thinking about this spectrum, I think about whenever I was running a landscaping company with my brother. I didn't really love the monetary value that I was getting from my work, but what I really loved was that finishing product, and to be able to talk with the person that I did the job for. A lot of times I would get bad feedback, but most of the time it was people that were really happy that, you know, the job got done the way that they liked it. And that was the overwhelming majority. Sometimes you'd get a bad apple. Sometimes you'd get a person that doesn't even want to pay you for the job. But I don't even remember those as much. There's one specific person I remember, but most of the feedback that I got was really good. And it was really about a love that I had for creating a beautiful landscape for people to enjoy on a weekly basis. And I do miss that in a way, but I also wanted to sort of cultivate a new way to help provide people with a different experience, and that's kind of my service right now. I want to provide people with a different experience, a different enjoyment, and to find that satisfaction, to reach that point of motivation where the bad feedback that you get doesn't really change, doesn't really push you back into that anger side of the spectrum, where you're doing things out of anger, or that you start fearing the feedback. And so this is a really important one, really important episode. I'm glad we could cover this early on as we sort of establish looking at the big picture, looking at motivation on a daily basis. We went from big picture to thinking about transformation, and now we're thinking about motivation to help you basically transform on a short-term basis, but then look also at the big picture and think about how we're gearing our motivation towards purpose and love, and that love for the reason why you're doing things. And just a powerful dynamic and spectrum that I've just sort of was shown recently, and I just want to embody it, and I hope that you do too, because if you don't love what you're doing, maybe there's a certain way that you can think about it to remind yourself why you love doing what you're doing. What are the good things about your job that actually bring you, that have you coming back? Because there's definitely bad parts to the job or career, and if you can't find any good parts to your career that you like and resonate with, and that it helps you with fulfillment. If it doesn't help you improve your skills, it doesn't help you provide a service for humanity, then maybe it is important to maybe rethink that. But it's really up to you, and it's your journey. But I got a lot of bad feedback from people that didn't really like that I was working in landscaping, because everybody has that left brain mentality where you go to college and you have to sort of establish a career that's based off of your college, or what you went to for college. And so a lot of people, even though I went to school for business, they didn't like the fact that I was landscaping and basically creating a business with my brother and a partnership, and they didn't even believe that I'd be able to be a partner with my brother. But really, I was a business partner with my brother, and we did have a lot of fun and success. We did have a lot of disagreements and everything like that, but overall there were many years where we found a lot of success in what we were doing, and really enjoyed it. And it was really us building something together. And so yeah, I look back at the feedback that I got from people. I feedback from women that just called it groundskeeping and didn't really think about the business side of things, because a lot of people aren't really business oriented. They don't really understand all the things that go into a business. And so you just have to look past that and look at why you love running a business, or why you love nursing and taking care of people. Find out what it is, and make sure you remind yourself that every day, probably before you go through a hard day's work, or what you're really doing this for. And so thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. And I really appreciate you for watching. And I love what I'm doing. I hope you love it too. And I hope you can find that enjoyment, the courage that leads to a purpose, and a love for what you're doing. And yes, thank you so much. Take care. Please like and subscribe. And peace out.